Have you ever found yourself awake in the dead of night, when the world outside your window is silent and still, and the only company you have is the soft, static-laced voice coming from your radio? There's something about those hours, when the city sleeps, when the streets are empty, and the only lights are the ones you leave on, that makes everything feel a little more mysterious, a little more uncertain. Maybe you've tuned in, just to hear another human voice, to remind yourself you're not the only one awake. Or maybe, like so many others, you're drawn to the strange comfort of late-night radio, where the rules of the day don't seem to apply and the stories are just a little bit stranger. For Ethan Graves, that strange, lonely world wasn't just a passing experience, it was his entire life. Every night as the clock crept past midnight and the rest of the town drifted off to sleep, Ethan would slip into the studio, headphones on, coffee in hand, and settle in for his shift. Midnight to 4 a.m., 4 hours of darkness, 4 hours of solitude, 4 hours of filling the airwaves with music, stories, and the occasional call from a fellow insomniac. Alone, but never quite alone. Because in the world of late-night radio, you never really know who or what might be listening. The station itself was nothing special. A squat, weather-beaten building on the edge of a forgotten highway, surrounded by fields and woods that seemed to stretch on forever. Dust gathered in the corners, the paint peeled from the walls, and the only sign of life was the faint glow of the on-air sign in the window. Most people in town barely remembered it was there. But for those who couldn't sleep, for the truckers passing through, for the night shift workers and the restless souls, it was a lifeline. A beacon in the darkness, and for Ethan, it was home. The call letters on the sign outside read WYRD, 104.6 on the FM dial. But everyone who listened at night knew it by another name, the witching hour. It was a nickname that started as a joke, a nod to the odd things people claimed to hear on the station after midnight. Static that sounded like whispers, songs that weren't on any playlist, stories that seemed to come from nowhere. Over time, the name stuck, and so did the feeling that there was something just a little bit off about the place. Something that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up, even if you couldn't say why. The truth is, it wasn't just a name. There was something about WYRD that set it apart from every other station on the dial. Something that lingered in the static, that crept in with the fog, that made the shadows in the corners seem deeper than they should be. Ethan had always told himself it was just his imagination, just the tricks the mind plays when you're alone in the dark for too long. But as the nights wore on, and the strange calls and stranger occurrences began to pile up, he started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the witching hour was more than just a catchy slogan. Maybe, in the heart of the night, the line between stories and reality was thinner than anyone realized. And maybe, just maybe, some stories were waiting to be told. It was a slow October night, cold, foggy, the kind of night where the world feels muffled, as if the city itself is holding its breath. The streets outside the radio station were deserted, the only movement coming from the swirling mist that crept along the pavement. Streetlights flickered, their beams swallowed by the dense fog, and the distant hum of a lone car was the only sign of life. Inside, the world felt even smaller, the silence pressing in from all sides. Ethan was halfway through his shift, the hours stretching endlessly before him. He filled the quiet with music, his voice weaving between songs, joking with the few loyal listeners who still tuned in at this hour. The studio was a haven of warmth and light, a small island in the sea of darkness outside. Ethan leaned back in his chair, laughing softly at a caller's story, the sound echoing in the empty room. He sipped lukewarm coffee, glancing at the clock, counting down the minutes until dawn. Then, the first call came. The red light on the phone flashed, cutting through the haze of routine. Ethan hesitated, a strange chill running down his spine. He pressed the button, the familiar click echoing in his headphones. But this time, something felt different. The silence on the other end was heavy, charged with a tension that made Ethan sit up straighter. He cleared his throat, ready to greet another night owl. But the voice that finally spoke was nothing like the others.
He's in my house. I locked the door, but I can hear him moving downstairs. I don't know what to do. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold the phone. I thought if I called someone, anyone, it might help. I'm so scared. Please, you have to help me. I don't know how he got in, but I know he's here. I can hear his footsteps. He knows I called you. The fear in the caller's voice was unmistakable, raw, desperate, and chilling. Ethan's heart pounded as he realized this was no ordinary late-night prank. The night had changed in an instant, and nothing would ever be the same again.
Ethan blinked. "Who's in your house?" he asked.
The man in the photo. The one on your station's page. I saw him outside. Now he's inside.
Ethan paused. He hadn't posted any photo. He checked the station's social feed. There it was, uploaded just minutes ago. A grainy image of him, inside the studio, taken from outside the window. He spun around. Nothing, just the window's reflection in the dark. He laughed nervously, called it a prank, until the line went dead, and Rachel screamed. He called the police.
We'll check the caller's address, Ethan. Please stay put.
Then line 2 lit up.
Hey man, is this part of some game? That pic of you's going around, and I just saw you, outside, walking down my street. Same hoodie, same face.
Ethan stared into the security feed. The live camera, just static. And the station's tower light, blinking red every second like a heartbeat, was now dark. Then a third call, no number, no name. Click.
You shouldn't have stayed on the air. The station is the gate. You left it open.
What gate?
The one between your voice and what hears it.
The lights flickered, backup generators hummed, the hallway monitor showed movement. But it wasn't Officer Miller, it was Ethan. In the hallway, another Ethan, then another, in the parking lot. And one, right behind Officer Miller, who had just walked in.
Turn around.
Too late. 3:33 a.m. The radio, it crackled back to life. Ethan's voice came through, but it wasn't really Ethan, it was something else.
Welcome back to the Witching Hour. Let's hear your stories. Line 1, you're on air.
Some say the station burned down that night. Flames licked the sky, painting the darkness with a sickly orange glow. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid scent of burning vinyl records, the walls collapsing inward as if the building itself was trying to swallow its secrets. Neighbors claimed they heard music drifting through the smoke, a haunting melody that didn't belong to any known song. Firefighters arrived too late, finding only the charred skeleton of what was once a vibrant hub of late-night voices and static-filled stories. The official report blamed faulty wiring, but those who lived nearby whispered about something stranger, about voices on the wind, about a broadcast that never quite ended, even as the flames consumed everything in their path. Others say it never existed at all. They insist there was never a radio station on that corner, just an empty lot, overgrown and forgotten, shrouded in mist every night. Old city maps show nothing but a blank space, and longtime residents shrug when asked about the station, as if the very idea is a trick of memory. Some say the stories started as a joke, a way to scare newcomers, but the tales grew stranger with each retelling. People talk about hearing static on their radios when they drive past the lot, or catching a fleeting voice whispering their name through the white noise. It's as if the land itself is haunted by a frequency that never found a home, a signal searching for someone to listen. But if you tune in at exactly 3:33 a.m., sometimes, just sometimes, you'll hear Ethan's voice. It's unmistakable, warm, familiar, and tinged with static, as if he's speaking from somewhere far away, or maybe from nowhere at all. The broadcast is never the same twice. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes a song, sometimes just a single word repeated over and over. Listeners say the air feels colder when his voice comes through, and the shadows in the room seem to shift, as if something is listening with you. No one knows who Ethan was, or why his voice lingers on the airwaves, but those who've heard him never forget the feeling, a mix of comfort and dread, like a memory you can't quite place. He'll ask you to call in. His invitation is gentle, almost pleading, as if he's waiting for someone, anyone, to answer. "If you're out there, give me a call," he says, his words echoing in the silence of the night. The phone number he gives is always the same, but when you try to write it down, the digits slip from your memory, replaced by a strange sense of déjà vu. Some say the microphone crackles with hidden messages, that if you listen closely, you can hear other voices whispering beneath Ethan's, voices that sound eerily familiar. The studio on the other end feels both empty and crowded, filled with the ghosts of conversations that never happened. Your phone will ring, before you ever dial. The call comes from nowhere, the screen blank, the ringtone distorted and echoing as if it's traveling through miles of static. If you answer, you'll hear Ethan's voice. Closer now, almost whispering in your ear. He'll ask you a question. One you've been avoiding, one you're not sure you want to answer. And when the call ends, the silence in your room will feel heavier, as if something unseen is still listening, waiting for you to tune in again.
We already heard your story. Now it's time to live it.
You're already on the air.